y'all, here is today's tea tasting. We've been tasting a lot of teas for months in China because I ordered from a Chinese specialty store. And so I'm excited to get out of China with my new order, and we're going to Kenya. And so this is a Kenya, and I'm not sure how this is pronounced. It could be Milima, the I's, I don't know how they would be pronounced, GFOP, and it is from TeaGschwendner out of Chicago, Illinois. And so here is what the tea leaves look like. And they're cute little black leaves, and there's a few of them that are a lighter color. There's a few that have a little bit of a golden tip. Most of them are this dark, rich color. And I did decide to weigh my tea, and so this is about how much tea, since it's small tea. When you weigh it, it takes up less space in the gaiwan, but this is 3 grams. They suggested on the bag to use 3 grams for 8 ounces, which would be the regular Western brewing. And in gaiwans, you use more tea with less water for shorter steeping times, which is the way I prefer to brew. So I went ahead and did the recommended 3 grams because this 150 milliliter gaiwan is about 5 ounces instead of 8 ounces. So I am using the same amount of recommended tea with less water. Okay, here are the wet leaves after a very short steep. Since I don't like Assam teas, I'm always weary about the first steep when I'm tasting something being too long. So, I think it was maybe 30 seconds. You can kind of see a leaf down there. Maybe we'll look at them a little closer later after another steep. But here's the color of the liqueur. Kind of a classic brown. So we've done 3 or 4 steeps now, and I pulled out some leaves onto my gaiwan lid so you can see what they look like. I mean, they're not full leaves, but they're not little bitty pieces either. And so here is my notes. So there's the name of the tea and the GFOP. Now OP stands for Orange Pico, and it's a leaf grading. And Orange Pico stands for the highest grade. And the GF stands for Gold Flowery. I didn't really see a whole lot of golden tips. We did see a few. Milima is what I'm going to go with, is the name of the estate. And I found online it was formerly named the Marinin Estate. If you Google the name of this tea, you'll find it in quite a few different places with descriptions, and I did see some say it came from other estates. Oh, there goes my water warming up over there. Today's date, this is a black tea. So here's the Kericho district of Kenya, where it comes from. And I got that map off of Wikipedia. And here is off of Google Maps. And I did this so you could show the terrain. I was trying to figure out, a lot of times you can tell when you turn it to the green instead of the streets on Google Maps. You can tell where the mountains are. And This doesn't look very mountainous to me, but it could be deceiving. So right in here, I thought it might be a little mountainous, but then again, this whole area here might be mountainous, and this lower, I can't really tell though from the Google Maps. So scrolling on down, I looked at where it was located in the continent of Africa. So that's the dot. And I think it's kind of important to note where the green is in the country and where the brown is in the country. We'll see that more on another image going down. Now, when I study about teas, I find myself learning about geography. And I got to thinking, well, I hear the word South Africa all the time. What's North Africa? So I looked up North Africa, and there's the 7 countries that consists of North Africa. And I really had trouble struggling with the concept of North Africa and South Africa. So there's actually 5 regions in Africa. There's a northern, western, central, eastern, and southern Africa. And so Kenya is in the eastern Africa, which is in the gray area, and the red area is considered southern Africa. However, when I read online, and which was a concept I had and obviously other people have, it's almost like all of these lower regions are collectively southern Africa to some people, and then the purple northern Africa, especially the travel websites as they refer to them. So I decided to quit spending my time on that, but this seems to be the official there. And here, this is also very interesting. So I zoomed out, and I'll go down to my notes. So Kenya is on the equator with few fluctuations in weather, so the plants grow year round. In the lower height lands, it's too hot to grow tea, so they don't grow tea there. They only grow it where there's higher altitudes. And the tea, but this is the cool part. The tea bushes get the cool and moist air from Lake Victoria, which falls as rain over the mountains of Kenya. So the tea's grown in the mountains of Kenya, and it gets rain from Lake Victoria. So if you go back up to this map, which is super cool, you see Lake Victoria is both in Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. And you see how where the red dot is, where this tea is grown, is directly to the right of Lake Victoria. So you can imagine the rains coming from the lake and out into the mountains, and then going back to where I referenced the brown areas of the country. Look, you see to the right of where this tea is grown, it's very dry, desert-like. So where this tea is grown in Kenya, it gets its rain from this Lake Victoria. And so that's a huge influence on the tea there. I just thought that was super cool. I bet you that lake is beautiful. So the British brought the bushes to Kenya, and so then I find it interesting that the name of the lake is very British also, being Victoria. So, this is another little close-up. I love the colors of the lake, and you can see how close it is to where this tea is grown. The harvest or the flush is year-round, but the best crops are in late January and early February. Most of the teas in Kenya are CTC, cut, tear, curl, so they're itty-bitty pieces, and that's why I was focusing on the leaves after I brewed them. Whether or not they're cut, torn, and curled. because this is known as an orthodox tea. That would be a larger leaf than what most of the things are that come out of Kenya. So from several websites, I didn't credit just one because it looked like they all copied each other online, for processing. After it's plucked, the leaves are gently rolled in order to maintain the floral character and obtain a twisted leaf appearance. So if you go back over here, that's definitely rolled. I don't know about twisted, but it is rolled. And then after that is when they are oxidized and dried. And they are oxidized fully to black tea. And then you have 3 primary grades in Kenya. This one is the middle one, the GFOP, but you see there's a GFBOP, and the B stands for broken, which would also be your CTC. And then the other grade is a higher grade broken. So many of the websites said that this is more like a second flush Assam Orthodox, which is in North India. And that started making me a little bit nervous. From the website on TeaGschwendner, there's where they give the location, and they say that this is a traditional Orthodox method, as we just discussed. From Harney and Sons, they had a different kind of description, saying it had golden tips, reminiscent of Assam again. That made me a little nervous. But there it says the Milima, I thought this was a good tip, is Swahili for in a high place, or in other words, the mountains that we discussed, that gets the cool air from the lake, and apparently it has rocky soil there. So it also mentions the Orthodox method from this Milima estate. I did see some mentions that it was more like a Desjardins with the tips. So I was curious how this was going to turn out, and here's how it turned out. So I've got it on the brown in the spectrum of my colors that I created. The scent. So I did, the TeaGschwendner description says it's spicy, but as in that other description, I did get floral. It came out floral, and that's where I got stuck, and that's all I could think of. In the dry, that when we smelled it, it was a very light smell, light floral, and I said I wasn't sure what flower. And then I started the process of elimination. It's not sweet, and I think hyacinth when I think of sweet. And it wasn't a rose. I know what they smell like, and so I decided it was possibly a lilac from a process of elimination in my head. And there was a hint of malty, which malty is in the grain and starch category. The wet was more malty than floral, but they were both still there. My notes have scooted over. So the body, I have light. There's one lower than that. That is smooth, and very light. I think smooth is the astringency low one. But I felt the body was light. And then the astringency I had as bright light. So smooth would be like almost no astringency. Bright light, I do like some astringency. This is my sweet spot. And so I was happy with that. I did steep it. I put 3 seconds. It's supposed to be 30. It's a great way to review my notes while I video them. Is when I proofread them. So 30 seconds with the 3 grams, and I was pleasantly surprised at the nice astringency that was more like a Ceylon than a Assam. So yes, I love Ceylon black teas, so I love the astringency level of this, and I was so happy it was not a Assam astringent like suggested. And the taste was still the same floral and slightly malty that I smelled. And I always consider a tea good if it smells the same as it tastes. And this one definitely, all the way from the initial smell to the tasting to the finish, was the same. And so I always consider that a very good tea. That's something I look at when I'm rating teas. And then because this is grown in rocky soil, I was like, my husband wasn't sure he got floral. And I kept thinking, what else could it be? And I thought maybe stone. And he said, well, yeah, I could go with stone. So my initial thought still was floral throughout, but when I tried to change my thinking, I can maybe get a little bit of stone, which is in the mineral element category. And then I have all those categories on my website, which is always linked in the videos. So the finish, I got lingering, and aromatic, the same floral was there, and the finish, it was a short linger, but it did linger. I gave this 3 hearts. I debated 4 hearts. Just because I was so pleasantly surprised that I could drink it. And that it wasn't Assam-like. But I ended up giving it 3.5 because the floral is, my personal flavor profile does not favor floral. And if it was not floral, I would have given it the 4 hearts. But because it was floral, I had to knock it down to 3.5. But I definitely recommend you trying this tea. It is a very good experience, very positive experience. So I always take my tea out and put them in these little jars, and I know that's not the best way to store it, but it's how I do it because I do drink my teas up. I don't keep them for a long time. But I just wanted to share with you that this little bag filled 3 jars. Now, every one of my bags that looked much larger from Yunnan Sourcing, which was the last place I bought from, only filled 2 jars. So yeah, even though these take up a lot less space, these bags, than the other bags, there's actually a lot more tea in them. This one says 100 grams. And I wanted to share with you this lovely book I got free with my order. It's edition 14, book of tea from the TeaGschwendners. And I've been trying to break the cover so that it will lay open flat. But the first part of the book is mostly about their company. There was a chart. So this page shares that their company began in 1976 in Germany with Albert Geschwander, and it's got a whole chart. He died in 2010, but there's so many fabulous photos in this book. I feel like there's some of these pages, like I could just lay this open flat on a coffee table, and even for some flat lay photography with some tea. But somewhere back, about halfway through the book, you start getting into pages more about tea, and there's a whole bunch of good information in this book. And I'm going to quite enjoy just thumbing through it and reading. And in this book, I think it's important to note, I was reading in this, it says Glossary about leaf grading, and we see orange Pico is the main grade of Ceylon and Java, mostly with long, wiry leaves. But down here it says this GFOP, Golden Flowery Orange Pico, is the top grade from the only surviving Kenya tea garden that manufactures Tippy tea. So I'm assuming this rating is reserved for the Kenya tea, which I did not know.